today we continue. It's a very interesting topic, Siman 65. Right, and it's laws of interest, ribis. And we start with halacha number 16. As we saw last time, it's not so simple. It's not so simple, many intricate details. Okay, so it's very long halacha, but I think we're going to split in two. Okay, halacha number 16. And it says, this year discussed the halacha regarding advancing funds for produce or merchandise in order to take possession of at the later date. So somebody gives money, like prepaid. What is prepaid? I mean today, the only time I prepaid in my time is with Art Scroll. Right, with Art Scroll, when they were publishing the book, I don't remember even which book, and they announced that you can prepay and we're going to ship it to you in 2 months. Okay, because we're going to publish, there is a waiting list and stuff. I don't remember what book, but I want it very much. Okay, but so I sign up. That's the only time that I prepay. But it was, you see, with Art Scroll, it's not a good example. I mean, because the prices are stable, right? But if we're talking about produce, it's not you don't know what harvest is going to be. I mean, the prices depend on fluctuation of the market. Market depends on how much produce, like how much the produce is on the market, right? So okay, so let's start. It is prohibited to purchase produce or another item by advancing the funds in order that the seller will give the produce or merchandise to the buyer at the later time. For we are concerned that the price of the produce may rise in the meantime. Thus, afterwards, at time when he will give him the produce, it will turn out that the purchaser received more produce than the value of the money that he paid in return for advancing the money. So let's read it again, and we're going to explain the situation. So I mean, based on what we learned before, that's clear, absolutely clear. Ribis, 100%, right? So meaning what? In general, right? The person gives money. So he said, look, I want to buy, look, you have the best apples, so I want to buy a sack of apples, right? Whatever, I don't know how many it's like, 50 pounds, 60, I don't know, like, let's say 50 pounds, let's say 50 pounds in one sack of apples. Okay, that's what I want to buy from you, right? And here's the money, right? How much is going to be? And the guy say, okay, like most probably like last year prices. And this person, this farmer, he needs the money, right? Maybe it's like the beginning of the season. He needs to buy tools. He needs to buy some things. I mean, like whatever he needs to hire worker to trim it, to prune it and stuff like that. So like he needs money. And if he, in some sense, if he's going to give us more produce back, so it's going to be like it was a loan. He needed money, and he paid us back like with the apples that we paid for plus extra. Of course, it was not plus, but because of the price reason in the meantime. That's it looks like. I mean. It looks like, and it is, it's like ribis. Okay, so one more time. It is prohibited to purchase produce or another item by advancing the funds in order that the seller will give the produce or merchandise to the buyer in a later time. So exactly as we said, he gives money and said, okay, at the end of the harvest, wherever in August, September, so please give me my apples. Right? Okay, that's it. So here's the money. Okay, I want to be first for whatever reason. Okay. For we are concerned that the price of the produce might rise in the meantime. So if it's going to go down, there is no problem. But if it's going to rise, that's the problem, right? Because he gave him, let's say, I don't know, like $50. Let's say to make it simple, $50. And now this costs $55. Right, so it's for like $5. It looks like. I mean, right. So he's going to give him apples for a market value of 55. Okay. Thus, afterward, at the time when he will give him produce, it will turn out that the purchaser received more produce than the value of the money that he paid. Okay. In return for advancing the money. Okay. Commentary. One who advances the funds of the produce of the merchandise is in effect extending a loan to the seller. That's exactly how we understood. Right? It's like a loan. He needs money to prepare for this harvest. I mean, for the season. Okay. To buy fertilizer. I mean, there is to pay the workers to work the land. Yeah, there is a lot of a big investment of the money, and the worker is not going to work on the orchard and you said I'm going to pay at the end of the season. I mean, they have to pay. They have to feed their families, right? So the guy needs money. Therefore, it would constitute ribis if he received in return is worth more than that what he has paid. Okay, so far so good. That's clear. Okay. Okay. So second paragraph to this halacha, an exception to this prohibition, but if now there is the time that he receives the payment, the seller has all of the produce that he is selling. Now two, at the time of receiving the payment, the seller, the one with the apples, has all of the produce that he is selling, even though he will not give it to the purchaser until later, it is permitted. Okay, same exception as we said the last time. For whatever a person currently owns, he may sell it if he wishes, even very inexpensively. Period. And even if the processing of the produce has not yet been totally completed as required, but it still requires one or two processes before it will be ready for the consumer. Nevertheless, it is considered complete and it is permitted. However, if it lacks three additional processes, in order to be ready for the customer, it is prohibited to structure the deal in this manner. See the Siman that follows, 66.8. Or meaning next 66.8. For permissible manner to advance the funds to on the merchandise, even when it is lacking the three or more processes. So the next topic, 66 is a laws of Iska. So Iska, what is it? What does it mean? Iska is it's like companionship. That when somebody invests money, right? He gives money to somebody else to use it in a business, and then they divide the profits and losses. Okay, so it's not like he lending him 100% for the person to use, right? Like I mean, if person lends to another money, there is no problem whatsoever. He can do whatever he wants. He will burn the money. He go to restaurant 7 times a day. There is no problem, right? Or he can invest in a business, but at the end of the term, he has to return the money, right? But here's the but. This person. This borrower would need to return exactly the sum that he borrowed, and he's responsible for any loss. With money, there is no exception. With merchandise, like animals, there is some exception. With money, there is no exception. I think. I mean, I cannot think of one. Okay. So he must return, right? But this guy, the lender, he wants to make money. That's a different story. So if you want to make money, meaning you, in some sense, like in the business world, it's meaning charging interest. So a person lends somebody 100,000, right, and he wants 5%, 10% interest. So in this laws of Iska, it's going to be like investment. So they're partners. So like it's very popular for one partner be working partner, right? He has a skill. He's a chef, a cook chef, right? And another has money and he can open restaurant and may make a renovation and hire other workers. But the people are going to come because of the chef, right? So they, in some sense, they are partners. Okay, so that's the next chapter. I mean, in a nutshell. Of course, it's much more complicated, but the idea is like this. Okay. So one more time this paragraph, and we're going to explain an exception to this prohibition. But if now too, in the time that he received the payment, right, the seller has all the produce that he is selling. One second, but selling, even though he will not give it to the purchaser in the later, it is permitted. Okay, so here we go. Here's the situation is like this. So seller is the person who has apples, and buyer is the person who gives him money. So they say if seller has other apples, the buyer wants the apples from a new harvest, right? That's what he wants, right? When in 2 months from 3 months from now, and seller of the apples, he has apples from last year, like some like strong, very like winter apples, right? That can stay over the winter and till the next harvest, right? So there is some this kind of apples. So he has in his possession. Buyer would not take it because that's not what he wants, but seller technically have it, and he technically can give him these apples technically, or sell those apples from the last year harvest, take the money and pay the buyer. I mean, reimburse him. Okay, so that's the exception as we spoke last time. Okay. Right, so he's not okay. So one more time, the whole sentence. But if now too, at the time that he received the payment, meaning the guy that is promising the apples, the seller, we call him the seller, has all of the produce that he's selling, right? Meaning again apples from the last year, even though he will not give it to the purchaser until the later it is permitted. Okay, or he even have these apples from this year, but this guy said, no, I don't need it now, please hold it for me, I'm going to get it in 2 months from now. Possible, right? For whatever the person currently owns, he may sell it if he wishes, even very inexpensively. So technically, maybe he would wait until the prices are going to rise. But technically, he can sell it now and return the money. Right? Coming to him. Therefore, even if the price would rise, that does rise, the buyer is not seen. A buyer meaning the one who gives the money, as receiving more value than he would pay for due to the fact that he paid earlier. But rather we view it as received at the time of the sale and expensive product for inexpensive price. We have to it's brilliant language. Nevertheless, even in this case, the seller may not explicitly say that he discounted the price due to the having paid earlier. Okay, Rema 173:7. Note that here, unlike with regard to the lending a seah for seah, as we learn CF 11, the seller must own the entire quantity of the merchandise being sold at the time of the original payment. So here is a little different. That's a correction to what we said before. One second. I mean, in Shulchan Aruch says he's not obligated to have everything, but in comment it says that he must. So I mean we're going to figure out. Okay. So one more time this commentary we're going to explain. Therefore, so meaning this guy, the seller has all of the apples, and he technically can give him apples right now. But this guy said no, only in 2 months from now. Okay, so we're going to be these apples from new harvest, so technically there is no problem. Again, therefore, even if the price does rise, right, meaning in 2 months from now, the buyer is not having received more value than what he paid. I'm sorry. Apologize. Value than what he paid for due in the fact that he paid earlier. So he does not get more apples, right? Just for the fact that he prepaid, but rather viewed as he received at the time of the self-expensive product for inexpensive price. So we see it like opposite. That's amazing language, right? So this commentary say we see that that person was entitled to receive all of his apples as soon as he paid, right? And the price was actually this price as he would receive right now, right? That was the actual price, right? But because he chose not to take it, his own choice, right? It's his own choice, and now he's going to pay the real price because it's later. I mean, the price, like it's very interesting, right? Okay, so meaning at that time he received a discount on these apples. Okay, nevertheless, even the case of the seller may not explicitly say that he discounted the price due to the having paid earlier, right? So as we said, it might looks like an interest then because he needs money right now, right, to invest into his business. Meaning what? That he needs a loan, right? And in appreciation for getting the loan, he wants to give us some discount, which is a big issue. Note that here, unlike with regard to lending say for say, we said that if he had any amount, it was not necessary that he has complete say, meaning even if he had a half a say at that time, it would be sufficient. But now, right? But here it's not like that. In the case of prepayment. So it says the seller must own the entire quantity of merchandise being sold at the time of original payment. So he has the entire quantity, but this the buyer decided I'm going to take later, or maybe we'll see in 2 months. Maybe I take these apples, or I take from a new harvest for whatever reason. Okay. 49. Continue. And even if the process of the produce has not been totally completed as required, so now second leniency, the way I say it, it's a different case, right? He paid the money, right? But there's no final product. Let's say we're still talking about apples, and he wants to buy apple juice, and he wants to make vinegar or something, or apple juice, right? So the processing still. Or apple jam. Okay, yeah, that's what he wants to buy, apple jam, right? So the processing is not totally completed, right? And even if the process of the produce has not been totally completed as required, right? He has apples, but he does not have jam yet, right? But they still require one or two processes before it will be ready for the consumer. Maybe, I don't know, clean apples and cook it. I don't know, right? Nevertheless, it is considered to be complete, and it is permitted, meaning to pay for this amount. Maybe the jam is going to cost much more money in 5 days from now. I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no, right? But there is no problem. Prepay and receive this amount. Even the prices would go up. Right, because one or two steps in the preparation, before the end of the preparation, considered to be done. But 3 steps, it's too much. However, if one lacks 3 additional, okay, what did we say? Okay, however, if it lacks 3 additional processes, in order to be ready for the consumer, it's prohibited to structure the deal in this manner. So meaning you cannot prepay in this case, okay? Because the product is not ready, it's not there. So 2 steps is no problem, 3 steps it's a problem. See the Siman that follows 66.8 for permissible manner to advance funds on the merchandise even when it is lacking 3 or more processes. So in that case, if just logically we can understand that you can give money to somebody, to investor, and let him go and buy something. Okay, and based on this, you can divide your profits, future profits. Okay, any questions on what we said? It's very interesting.
Rabbi?
Yes, go ahead, please.
So question the verse says, I wonder if the same prohibition and exception would apply to service instead of produce. For example, if one offers early bird discount for his service, since technically he can provide the service to other right now to earn money to reimburse the buyer, is this allowed?
It's a very good question. So early bird service, could you read again? I mean, the person has customers. It's not like he's liking the customers, correct? Or could you read again, please? Let's see.
I wonder if the same prohibition and exception would apply to services instead of produce. For example, if one offer early bird discount for his service, since technically, I got lost. Since technically he can provide the service to others right now to earn money to reimburse the buyer, is this allowed?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, yeah. So it's not alone. It's not like he's in need of money, right? In this case, it's a very good question. The way I see the situation, person is trying to bring on more business, to secure more business. So it's not like he needs a loan or he's going to use some money somehow. Right? He has a customer. That's why I ask. Yeah, there is no problem. Okay. What else? Any other questions? Very good question. Continue. All right. So let's do one more. So let me see how long is it. Okay. This will also going to split because it's very long. So again, not again. Start from Sif 17. Another exception to the prohibition of advancing funds for the produce of the merchandise. Produce or merchandise, okay. If the market price for the produce or merchandise has been established, like as I said, with a book. I think they change prices, but maybe once a year, but not not on month by month basis. They can offer like spot discounts, like for holiday discounts, stuff like that. So, but in that case, I'm thinking about it. I think they offer like 20%, right? Usually they give 10% off, but if you want to like sign up, like pre-order, so they give you 20%. Okay. Or 15%, something like that. But it's not like they need money. Have plenty of money. Okay. So one more time. If the market price for the produce merchandise has been established, one may purchase produce at the market price by advancing funds, even if the seller has none of the produce. For even if the price of the produce or merchandise were to subsequently rise, the purchaser has not profited by advancing the funds, for he was able to purchase the produce or the merchandise at that time on the open market at this same price. Thus, in the situation where it is permitted to advance payment, when the buyer has a merchandise, or when the same merchandise is available on open market for that price, it is permitted to accept merchandise even though the price did indeed rise, since this transaction does not appear like ribis. Kitzur now extends this ruling to cases where the seller wishes at the time that the delivery is due, to give different merchandise in exchange of the merchandise that he owns the buyer. I mean, that's too much. Well, what the person is trying to do. Okay, so let's finish that because it's continuation. Once the seller has stipulated to sell the produce for the certain price, in a permissible manner, there is either when he had the produce, meaning right now, or it is available on an open market for that price. Then, even though the produce has risen in price afterwards, at the time the payment of the produce is due, if he does not wish to give him the produce that he has stipulated to give, he may assess the value of the other merchandise that he will give him, or give him money according to the current value. Right? See the Kuntres Shar there at the end of Sefer Shar Mishpat. Okay, so let's stop here. And there are sources, but there is one commentary. Okay. So let's do from the beginning and we try to understand. So now we're talking about merchandise and we're talking about some stable prices. Okay, so I mean, especially in olden days, I think because now it's global market, so you can see what this stock or some utility is traded in this country, that country. So like it would affect your market. But if you in olden days, you did not have all of these connections, so you have no idea for 3 months, 6 months, what happened in another country. So it was very, very simple, even though the market rose in that country, but because, for example, for lumber, they had fires, like wildfires, but okay. So that was in olden days, right? So it was very possible for a market to be stable. Okay. So we start. If the market price for the produce or merchandise has been established, commentary, there is when the ample supply of the produce is reaching the market, the price has stabilized, right? Meaning that when it's enough supply. So it's like, of course, we know that the price is being adjusted based on supply and demand. So if it's like steady supply, there is no war, nothing in this, like no hurricanes, no wildfire, so there is no problem, right? Stable price. Okay. One may purchase produce at the market price by advancing funds. So in this case, he said, I need lumber, but I don't need it now, right? But I would need it in September. In September, I want to start building my house, right? So please make sure that you find me good lumber. Here's money, Mr. Jew, and that's it. Okay. So we can give him money, but I don't need this lumber right now. I don't need it right now. I need I'm going somewhere else, but in September I want to start building my house. Okay, that's the story. Okay, so he can give advance in the funds, right? Why? Even if he is a seller, has none of the produce, right? Why? Because even though he does not have the produce or the lumber right now, he can go and buy in the market. Okay, so why ask him? Why we ask him to buy? So I mean, in my mind, like because he can deliver to us. Okay, I can also buy it, but go and ask for like manage the delivery, that's too much. So I prefer him to manage all of the steps and just give him money and that's it. Okay. For even if the price of the produce or merchandise were to subsequently rise, the purchaser has not profited, by advancing the funds, right? For he was able to purchase the produce or a merchandise at that time. So I mean, this guy, the purchaser, he's not profiting because he could have bought it himself, right? Or he could have get delivered 2 months earlier. That's it, right? Merchandise on the open market at this same price. So whatever he paid, it was actually the actual price at that time, and that's what he paid. So it does not look like he's actually making any paying any ribis. Okay. So commentary. So it does not look like a loan, right? And in case, just another logical explanation, when a person has all of the merchandise in his possession, right? So meaning he does not need his money, right? He has a merchandise. So if he would need the money, he would, instead of borrowing from him, he would sell his merchandise. Okay. So 43. When a person pays in advance for the produce that was unavailable at that price, and then receives produce that rose in value from the time of the purchase, it seems as ribis, since he has received more than he would otherwise have bought at that money only because he advanced the funds. However, when that amount of the produce was available at that price in the open market, at the time of his purchase, he is not seen as having gained anything by advancing the funds, because it could just as easily have bought it in the market at that time, in which case the produce would have been risen in value in his possession. Even in this case, however, one may not stipulate a lower price than the current market price at the time of the payment. Okay, so let's understand this commentary. It's very deep, like a lot of details, and we're going to explain it. So again, the situation is when the market is stable and he gives the money now in order, but he wants to get the merchandise later. Okay. So how is it? And even so, we said even the price is going to rise for this merchandise. There is no problem. How is that? Okay, here we go. When a person pays in advance for the produce that was unavailable at that price, so meaning there is no such a thing. There are no apples at the market at this time because it's close to the next harvest. So nobody sell. Everybody ran out. So basically, if he takes this money, can he buy these apples? No, right? 2 months from now, yes. Now, no. Okay. And then he received the produce, right? And so in this case, if it's unavailable on the market, and he pays money and received the produce that rose in value from the time of the purchase, so they gave him prices based on the last year, so that's how he paid, right? He received more produce. Okay. More produce that he made the money. It seems as ribis, right? So meaning. He, in some sense, since the merchandise was not on the market, he gave money as a loan, and as a return in the loan, they gave him his apples plus extra, so it's ribis. Since he received more than he would otherwise have bought for the money, right? Because as we said, the produce was not available, right? So for that money, he would not buy so many apples, right? Only so he received all these extra apples because he advanced of the funds. So advance of the funds in this case, and he receives more. It's like ribis. Okay, so that's would be forbidden. However, when the amount of the produce was available at the price in the open market, so he could bought himself, right, on the open market at the time of his purchase, right? But he said, I can buy this, but maybe you can get something different. Okay, but technically could have buy those available, right? He's not seen as having gained anything advancing the funds because he could just easily have bought it on the market at the time. So meaning it was available, he could have bought it. He did not because of whatever reason. So it's not like he's trying to gain something. Money-wise. In which case the produce would have risen in value in his possession. So it's like we can see that it's like he bought it, right? He bought these apples at the time, right? And now the apples cost more. Like, did he pay more? Did he like gain more? No, he paid exactly what he paid. Now it's different price, and who cares about the price? I mean, I have my apples, right? Like people say, like somebody living in an apartment, right? And they pay very high taxes, right? And the person cannot pay taxes because of his income, right? It's too much, like elderly people or something. They don't have like pension is not that much. but the people say, yeah, but you have such expensive apartment. Yeah, I have expensive apartment. I cannot eat my apartment. Yeah, I mean it's very good that I have expensive, but what can I do, right? I need cash. This apartment is not cash unless I sell it. So that, like, for that person, it doesn't matter how much is apartment is on the market, right? That's in some senses like what we're saying here. Like he could have bought these apples back then, and it looks like it would be like he bought at $50 this sack, right? But now it's 65. Like, what is the difference for me? I'm not going to go and sell it, right? So that's the idea. Even in this case, however, one may not stipulate a lower price than the current market price at the time of the payment. So that's another twist. So it's price is now 50. Okay, so he said he's 50 and please deliver these apples in 2 months. Okay, that's it. Okay, but he cannot say the price is 50. I'm going to pay 45. How about that prepayment? That's would be problem. 43. Continue. Thus, in the situations where it is permitted to advance payment, right, like in this one, when the buyer has a merchandise, right, but we don't want it now for whatever reason, or when the same merchandise is available, right, or the same is available on the or open market price, right, meaning I can buy it myself right now at the same price, right, or this guy has it at the same price. It is permitted to accept the merchandise, even the price indeed rise, right? Since this transaction does not appear like ribis, right? So he could have bought before and prepared for me a few weeks in advance before the prices rose, so no problem. Kitzur now extends this ruling to cases where the seller wishes, at the time of the delivery is due, to give a different merchandise in exchange to the merchandise that he owns to the buyer. So now this guy said, look, the apples went up 30%. I'm not going to give you apples like 50, like for $50 a sack. That's too much, right? But I want to give you something else in return, right? So let's see. Once the seller has stipulated, the guy with the apples, right, seller, has stipulated to sell the produce for a certain price, it is in a permissible manner, right? There is when he had the produce, or it was available on the market for that price. So two different scenarios. So he's allowed to take money and deliver it later, right? And then the price rose in the meantime. Okay. Then even though the produce has risen the produce has risen in price afterwards, at the time of the payment of the produce is due, right? So meaning the price is now like not $50 the sack of apples, but 55. Okay, it would not if he would not wish to give him the produce that was he was stipulated to give. So he wants to give him beans, right, instead of apples. He may assess the value of the other merchandise that he will give him, right, or to give him money according to the current value. Okay, so he can give him different produce, or very interesting, given money according to the current value. So what do you mean? He gave him $50. Yeah, but he gave him $50 for so much apples, right? So let's see, what does it mean? For example, in a case where the buyer had advanced payment of $100 to the seller, and by the time the produce is due, it has risen in price for 110. The seller, instead of give them the produce, may exchange it for another merchandise that is worth $110, because it was it's not going to be what is it? It's not going to be ribis. Why? Because one of two scenarios: whether the seller had all of the apples in his possession, right, or this produce was available on open market. So until 2 weeks before the sale, it was all of this 1.5 months. It was available at the stable price, no problem. Okay. So now he can give him beans, as we said, right, or worth of $110, because that's or apples, right? Since the value of the produce he owns him now, right? So 110, not 100. Not only may he give him other merchandise, but he may also give him 110 in cash in exchange for the produce, right? So it's not going to be ribis. Very interesting. Okay. Although the buyer has given him 100 earlier, and now he is receiving 110, this is not seen as a ribis, since the seller is merely giving him the current value of the produce that he presently owns him. So meaning that it was a contract to get this sack of apples 2 months from now, and this guy had apples, right? So he could given like the apples that he had, or preserve them or something, so it would not cost him anymore, right? Or apples were available as soon as this guy said, I want to buy apples. So this seller could have, maybe he did not have apples yet, but he could have gone to the open market and buy apples in advance, like to make sure that prices would not go up. I mean, during the pandemic, so when the price was going up, so we say, like, let's buy a case or something. Like, who cares? I mean, like, we're going to use it, right? Because the price was changing every day. They would change the prices. Okay, so so very interesting. Again, this the price is risen, and this buyer is entitled to get his produce or his money back, or another merchandise on this value, for example. And I would say, if it's my personal understanding, for seller to give not to give money but to give merchandise, it's much more beneficial, because he makes money. So in many, like in credit card, they don't give you cash usually. Like if you have points, right? You use I used to have points because whatever, right? Now, like so they give you points, and you can spend with them. So it's not one-to-one. I mean, they make money anyway. So even though they gave you a penny, like for each mile or something, right? It's not a penny. Like for them, it's maybe half a penny. You understand? So they make money. So I would say that this opening that this seller can give him different merchandise, so he's not going to lose. Technically, that's what I'm trying to say. If he's going to give back money, yes, he's going to lose. If he's going to give a different merchandise, that's a different story he's going to make. I mean, like cut the losses. Okay, continue. See the Kuntres Shar Deya at the end of the Sefer Shar Mishpat, Siman 175, Siv Katan 2, chapter 1, which is contrary to what is written in Shulchan Aruch of the Tanya. Shulchan Aruch of Tanya. Oh, okay, it's Shulchan Aruch Harav. Right? Hilchas Ribis, CF 28. Okay, 45. So let's see. According to Shulchan Aruch Harav, if the price of the produce has risen, the seller may not exchange the produce with money. For since the buyer gave him certain amount of money, and now is receiving more money back in return, it appears too much like a ribis, and it is prohibited, which is makes sense. So Balatanya said that this money, Kitzur, in Kitzur on the previous page, he says there is three options. Given his apples, which is going to cost more, given money, like reimburse money, whatever he paid, or given different merchandise. So Shulchan Aruch Harav, Balatanya, he said no. He said if he is going to give him money, so it's going to look like clear as a ribis. So meaning he leaves on the table on the two options, meaning to give him a produce as agreed or different produce. So let me know if you have any questions. Questions? No questions? Okay. So if no questions, so let's try to do one more then. Okay. So 18. The discussion turns to the various ribis issues that may arise when one purchases merchandise if one of the town and resells in a different town. If one who has a merchandise that is sold locally at a low price and another place is sold at a high price, that was told by his fellow, give me this merchandise and I will bring it to the place where I sold it at a high price and I will sell it there and I will make use of the money for my own needs until such and such time when I repay you according to what the merchandise was worth there, after deducing the expense that were extended on the merchandise. Whether the owner of the merchandise may accept the offer depends on the follows. Depends on the terms as follows. If the responsibility for the mishap that occurs while bringing the merchandise to the other town was borne by the purchaser, there is one who resell the merchandise in another town, it is prohibited. Because why? Because it's 100% loan. But if the responsibility has borne on the original seller, it is permitted, meaning that he is just his agent. That's the way I understand. Provided that the original seller pay the purchaser who resell the merchandise something for his effort, right? Of course, when you hire somebody, of course you have to compensate them, right? It could be commission, but still you compensate. Okay, so let's do from the beginning, since we don't have questions. So let's continue with this. Okay, so one more time, and we're going to see the commentary and explain. The discussion turns to various ribis issues that may arise when one purchases merchandise in one town and resell in different town, and that's what people usually do. Right? They buy in a place where it's a lot and sell in a place when there is not, like there is bigger demand. Okay, higher demand. Okay. If one buying one, so he is buying from wholesaler here and sell retail in another town. If one who has merchandise that is sold locally at low price and in another place is sold at high price, was told by his fellow, give me the merchandise and I will bring it to the place when it's sold at a high price and I will sell it there. So this guy is not trying to hide anything, right? I'm not taking for myself. So, and he does not give any money. So technically he takes all of the merchandise on credit. I mean, it does not say here, but that's what the way I understand the situation. So he does not have money, but he said, look, you know that in that town they're going to pay 45% more. Okay, so let me take your merchandise sells there, and I'm going to give you some profits, right? And I will make use of the money for my own needs until such and such time. So he said, I'm going to sell it for you, and I'm going to make use. Maybe I'm going to buy on my way back. For example, it's like this town is far away. On my way back, I maybe do a few more transactions, and then I bring you the money. When I repay you, according to what the merchandise was worth there. So this guy is not hiding. Like he's saying that you're not going to lose. I give you the pay based on this first transaction. But it's in my mind, this person is trying to do more transactions until he pays this person back. Okay, so but I mean otherwise it's too simple. All right, I will repay according to what merchandise was worth there. After deducing the expenses that were expended on the merchandise. So I mean you have to get there somehow. You have to protect merchandise. You have to like maybe hire people, maybe pay for a booth or something like. It's all expenses. For example, commentary 46. The merchandise can be sold for $800 locally in city A, and for $1,000 in city B. Siman tells Reuven, the owner of the merchandise, that he will take the merchandise to city B, where he will sell it for $1,000. When he returns, he will give the entire $1,000 that were the proceeds of the sale to Reuven, only deducting the actual expenses incurred in transporting and selling the merchandise. So that's a different twist. I mean, this is an unbelievable example. So the Reuven says, Siman. So Siman tells Reuven, so give me this merchandise. Look here, like you can sell it for $800. Give it to me. You don't have to do anything. I'm going to take this merchandise to another city. I'm going to sell it for $1,000, and everything I want only the expenses. Maybe another $30, like transportation exchange. That's it. Or $50. Let's say not 50 too much. Okay, let's say $30. Okay, $30. So look, you make much more money, right? So and the rest of the money, like I'm going to pay you like almost $1,000, $970. Right? So meaning that this guy, the Siman, wants to use money. He's not doing it for to make profit from the sale. He wants just to use money. Right? That's the idea. Although Siman is not profiting from the sale, right? He does gain by having use of the money until the time he must repay Reuven. Right? See Shulchan Aruch Haraf Hilchos Ribis CF 20. So that's an amazing situation, right? He wants money, and in exchange for using this credit, he is going to benefit this guy Reuven, which is makes sense. I mean, for Reuven, it makes sense. He is going to make money, right? But it was like he's making money only why? Because of the loan. 46. So this guy said, so after deducting expenses that were extended to the merchandise, whether the owner of the merchandise must accept the offer, right, meaning this Reuven, depends on the following terms. Okay, so why, if he can accept this offer. So, and we're going to explain. If the responsibility for any mishap that occurs while bringing the merchandise to the other town has borne by the purchaser, so right, that's a problem. There is the one who sold the merchandise in the other town, it is prohibited. So because it's a loan. Commentary. Since the seller Reuven assumed responsibility for any mishap, when Siman received the goods from Reuven, it is viewed as an immediate sale of $800 worth of the merchandise, in which Reuven, the seller, does not demand payment until the later day. Okay. By ultimately paying more than what the merchandise is worth locally, the buyer, Siman, okay, is paying ribis in return for the use of the money. Okay, so let's read again, and we're going to explain. by ultimately paying. Apologize. Since the Reuven. So just one second. I want to go back a little. I don't know why is it hiding from me. So Reuven is the owner of the merchandise. Since the seller, so we call him seller, and Siman is a buyer. Okay. So since the seller Reuven, so he's the rich person, assume the responsibility for any mishap. Assumes, no responsibility for any mishap. Apologies, that's what the word confusion. It is assume no responsibility for a mishap, meaning it's a loan. So you, if you lose something, you must pay me. When Siman received the goods from Reuven, it is viewed as the immediate sale of $800. So meaning that Siman, in case of the complete loss, whatever happened, he's obligated to pay Reuven not 1,000 minus expenses. It was not the deal. He's responsible to pay Reuven 800, right? Because it was in some sense a loan. Okay. And the words of the merchandise in which Reuven, the seller, does not demand payment until the later date. So that's why it is 100% loan. Okay. By ultimately paying more, right, than what was the merchandise was locally, right, the buyer, Siman, is paying ribis. So now if he gives this $970 at 1,000 months expenses, he pays ribis 100%. Why? Because he was responsible. If he's responsible, it's not his merchandise. A person can have a deal with somebody and sends somebody paying commission, can pay him salary. Okay, he said, look, I'm hiring you to take this merchandise from this city to another city and sell it for me, right? And this guy sell, yeah, I'm going to sell, but can I use the money? Okay, no problem. I mean, he paid them for the sale. Okay. Continue. But if responsibility was borne by original seller, right, it is permitted. So, but if Reuven is responsible for whatever happened to merchandise, as like if you hire somebody, okay, maybe the guy messed up, but the loss is yours. Okay, so then it is permitted. So it's not like ribis, it's a business transaction, provided the original seller pays the purchaser who sell the merchandise something for his efforts. Okay, so we say that he paid he reimbursed the expenses, so it's not payment, and plus he pays him something else, and that guy in the meantime he used the funds, no problem. So then it is permitted. Commentary: if the seller assumes responsibility, seller meaning Reuven, the owner of the merchandise, assume the responsibility. The merchandise is considered his until it's sold 100% because he's responsible for everything, and he's entitled to full proceeds of the sale, meaning 1,000, in other towns after deducting expenses, right? So I mean it's business expense, as we said yesterday. You need that you can deduct transportation, other things. There is no problem. Okay, so and plus the salary. The buyer is considered to be no more than the agent, as we got it, right? To sell the service merchandise in a second town in a higher price. But again, Reuven was responsible from the beginning to the end. Okay, Chachmas Adam 139:18. When Siman makes a use of the proceeds, right? The guy, right? So he did everything in order to use money. Okay, right. When Siman makes the use of proceeds of the sale, he's actually borrowing that amount from Reuven, 1,000 minus expenses. So he's not going to give. He's not going to return to the place when Reuven is right away. He would take this money, like this 1,000 minus 30, as we said in our example, 970, and use for his own needs. And he may repay that amount without concern that he paid ribis, because again he was the agent, and as a favor, this guy gave him the money. This Reuven said, "You can use this money and pay me 3 months later when you come back." Very interesting. So and second, there is no problem, but one more last condition was that Reuven must pay Shimon something for his efforts for that specific transaction, right? So we can say that Reuven was working for that salary, so he was agent of Shimon. Shimon was agent of Reuven, and he was paid, and of course he deducted the business expenses, and he used the money. There is no problem. Commentary. As explained in the previous note, when the original owner assumes responsibility, original owner, the merchandise is considered his until it is sold, right? And the buyer is no more than the agent contracted to perform a service for him. Right? That's what companies do. They hire somebody to sell for them. Okay, but the produce, but the merchandise is there, and they have to provide insurance, and they have to provide a refrigerator if they want me to sell the tomatoes somewhere in another state. I mean, they have to provide me with a truck, with a driver, maybe, I don't know, with a helper, with all other things, right? If he does not reimburse him for the service, right, it emerges that the buyer was rendered the source to the original owner for the privilege of later borrowing the proceeds of the sale as a second time, and this would be considered advance rebis. If he worked for free, so he did not. Nobody is working for free. I mean, most of the people would not work for free, but extend such efforts, right? Especially in olden days. So meaning that he did all these efforts for why? Because for privilege to use the money. Now we're saying he did not care about this money. He did not care about the salary, but he cared about the making profit for investing this $1,000 and do whatever he wanted to do. Okay, so that's why we pay him salary. This was constituted advance rebis, 100%, right? By compensating the buyers for his effort, the rebis issue is avoided. Rosh, Bava Metzia 522, see below 66.1. So I mean, next year. Okay, so we can stop here.